Hey there guys, in this video we're going to be doing another discussion video that is requested pretty often, and that's to discuss the upcoming NeoVision's base units that are, who is upcoming, who's a big deal, who is not, who is worth saving for, that kind of stuff. So before we get into it, I will mention these are only units coming from the JP server. Some of them may be skipped, some of them may be changed, etc. Some of them may be buffed. So this is strictly information from the JP server. And also, just a reminder that global exclusives are not really predictable, and they can very easily change the overall value of units in the meta. For example, like 2 months ago, I think it was, Malphasy came out, and Malphasy pretty much by herself made wind teams from kind of underwhelming to a very powerful option. So, we can't predict what a global exclusive may do to the meta in the future. So this is only about JP units as we know from the JP server. Also, the final disclaimer is these are just my opinions. If you're a player in the top 10 of Dark Visions, you basically know the rules already. You pull for every unit ever, and that's just the way of the game. So this is obviously not intended for for like the best of the best of the best ranking in Dark Visions. In that case, you pull for every unit that comes out, and you just, you fund the game for us. But for everyone else, let's go over the JP units, and we're going to just say my overall personal opinion on the units. So first of all would be Maria. This was expected the current week on Global. She's kind of missing, which means she might show up next week, the week after, a month from now, we don't know. Or maybe she got catered and we'll never see her again. But the unit Maria, so I kind of talked about her briefly in the news video, but overall, kind of underwhelming, not the biggest deal that she got skipped. She has some small killers for the party, some big 250 killers on a cooldown, so this is kind of like Sylvie's in a way, although they're only single target. To Reaper and Beast. Now, the next Dark Visions boss that we're expecting from JP is a Reaper, so she could very, very well have seen some use in the upcoming Dark Visions boss. But, either she's skipped or she's delayed. But in any case, on the whole, I would not recommend anyone to care about her because she's not that great. She's very, very specialized, and even in what she does do, which is the 250 Reaper killer, which is the only thing that really matters. There's no Beast upcoming. Honestly speaking, I would probably rather like Rosa, because Rosa can do 250 killers on 2 units per turn, every turn, whereas Maria is 250 to 1 unit per 2 turns. So Rosa can get 4 times as much undead killer out on the party. We already have Rosa. So even if Maria does show up later, I wouldn't really worry about her. And just real quick, we're going to pop over to my my little JP schedule that I made for myself. So there was the current banner, Maria. Next, based on the JP order, and again, Global very well may switch things around. We might get Ridia next week, or we might even skip all the way to the Noctis banner next week. Probably not. It could happen though. Keep in mind, this is only based on the JP schedule. And actually, we kind of already know that next week is going to be Clash of Wills because of the live stream and all that. So this is probably going to be like in 2 weeks at best, maybe 3. But next was the Vision World event, or actually the raid, for Avon, him, and Lahart. So these are 3 Dragon Quest units. So Avon, him, and Lahart. And if I'm saying these names wrong, too bad. So Avon, I've kind of discussed before, he's a breaker. He's got a field and big in peril for 5 different elements. Fire, ice, lightning, wind, and light. 40% in peril field on a cooldown, so it can be used multiple times. It's a long cooldown, so it's more like for multi-wave battles. And then his break is a Magnus, though. Let me find it. Right here. Actually, it's a cooldown. Oh, wow, even better than I expected. With a 150 in peril to all 5 of those, and then I believe his SLB is the same thing. It's not. His SOB is just the break, not the Imperil, so the Imperil is only on the cooldown. In any case, he's not really specifically for trials. He's for like Dark Visions or multi-wave encounters where you can do all those cooldowns on turn 1 every wave. His damage is terrible. He's just a breaker. And lots of elements. What is my opinion on Avon? So, this one's a little tricky to rate. So, he's very similar to Vanille in that he covers a wide range of elements. But for specialized teams, like single element teams, there are better options. For example, if you're going with a fire team, you might want to wait and hold out for Galoof, who's coming in the relatively near future after that. If you're going for a thunder team or an earth team, you might want to hold out for Agrius, because these are units that deal decent personal damage and still do the same kind of coverage that the breakers are doing. The thing with Avon and Vanille is they cover lots of elements at the same time, so they're good for like I don't want to call it a budget, but people that can't afford to pull every single option. It's nice to have a unit like him that covers lots of options at the same time, even if he's not as good as the dedicated specialized option. Because on a fire team, like Galoof will do the same thing as Avon, but he'll also deal damage. Avon will not. You see what I'm saying? So still a really good unit, and I was personally holding out for him, but at this point, as we get closer, I'm starting to waver in my decision and thinking maybe I will personally be skipping Avon and just dealing with my Vanille, because I did off-banner a Vanille, and while Avon does cover different elements, I feel like Vanille is good enough for me. You see what I'm saying? If I didn't have Vanille, I'd probably consider Avon a lot stronger. But I do have Vanille at this point, so Avon is like, not as big of a deal. And then there's Heir of the Soul Him. Now, honestly, some of these units from JP, I glanced over them. I have a general idea of what they do, but I didn't look into them very seriously. This is a light physical damage dealer, and honestly speaking, all that really matters on damage dealers is, do they bring utility like fields or killers, and do they deal good damage? So him on a light team is doing something around, this is actually with the 750 Dragon Quest die leader skill, which honestly speaking, you're not really going to have a pure Dragon Quest die team. I think the leader is Die himself. We'll get to him in a minute, the new version. So this is a little bit misleading, and people have said about my spreadsheet in the past, and I actually agree with them, that you shouldn't use these unreasonable assumptions on your spreadsheet, because even though him has access to a 750 leader skill, you're never going to realistically build a pure Dragon Quest team, and you're not going to use Die as your leader, like you will for an EX stage or something. But in Dark Visions, Die is not going to be your leader, so I shouldn't assume that. But then again, you could, and the option exists, so it's kind of a hard thing. This is kind of the reason that my spreadsheet is very easy to edit, so anyone that does want to recalculate it based on something him will probably have, which is like Squall as a leader. So a 600 leader skill. You can very easily change that on my spreadsheet. So if you want to change it, go ahead. But based on the best case scenario, him is doing about 992 billion damage. And if you look over here to the current top on global, around here, that's about on par with our current meta at a 750. So again, it's going to be slightly less in reality, because in reality, you're not going to have Die leading your party. You're going to have Squall leading the party at 600. But there you go. Or Noctis leading the party at 500 in the future. But yeah, so he does good damage. He's a light element damage dealer. Not much more to say. 150 amplify. I'm pretty sure he doesn't have any fields or anything. No AoE killers. So, yeah, he's not bringing in a utility. He's just a damage dealer. So, if you're going for all the best possible light damage dealers, okay, he probably fits on your party. Am I going to pull for him? No. No chance at all. No way. For one thing, I don't have Squall. And the second thing is his leader skill does not fit in anyone else that I own. Like if I was going to build a light party, it would definitely be with Deity Tyvis as my leader, who is Evocation and then Clash of Wills light. So that would be like 2B, A2, Richt, Tyvis himself, and I'd probably like splash in like Roka or something on the side because she also qualifies, or Axstar, etc. So him, for me, does nothing. But if you're a big light fan, there you go. The other one that week is Land Dragon Lighter Lahart. He is a wind damage dealer, and again, he's just a damage dealer for the most part. And Lahart is, where's his damage calculations? A lot lower, actually. Again, this is with the Dragon Quest Die leader skill, which you're probably not going to have leading your party. So more realistically, this is a 500 leader skill with Zidane. So as we kind of know, Wind has really fallen behind. There's not really any big deal Wind units upcoming to revitalize that. So Wind is, for the most part, a dead element. Even then, he's relatively low damage. If we change his leader skill to 500, he'd be more like down here. So he's pretty far behind in damage. Doesn't really bring any utility or anything. He's, these are self-only. If these buffs were AoE, that'd be a whole nother story. But they're not. They're not. So, yeah. Just a damage dealer. Underwhelming damage. Bad element. So, for me, Lahart is a huge skip. I actually think the sprite looks pretty cool. Kind of like a dark elf drow or whatever. I haven't seen the anime, so I don't know much about Dragon Quest Die. But just on his sprite, he looks really cool. I love his sprite, and I wish the unit was better. But for me, it's going to be a big no. So that covers that week. And then after that, we get, or JP got, part 2 of the Dragon Quest Die event, which was Die himself and Leona. Wasn't there more? Wasn't Vern? Is my sheet missing? Oh, it is. My sheet's actually missing. Oh, I gotta fix that. I actually didn't write down Vern, or Vjarn, or whatever the hell his name is. Okay, so Die, Vjarn, and I'm probably saying his name wrong, and Leona. So this was the next banner. So Die, and I'm pretty sure he was the leader skill, the 750. Yeah, 750 for Adventure of Die units. That's more of a thing for like the EX stages. He's not going to be a Dark Visions leader. But hey, I could be wrong here. Maybe a Dark Visions pure Die team really is viable. I don't know. But anyway, Dragon Lord Die, or Twin Crests Dragon Die, is a lightning damage dealer. In the shift form, he goes like Super Saiyan. Lightning damage dealer. Again, he's not really bringing any kind of utility or anything. He's just a damage dealer. His killers are single target. Yeah, no utility here. But Die, if I remember correctly, did actually not great damage. So right here, 850 is a little bit behind the meta, but not too bad. I mean, keep in mind, this is probably like 3 or 4 weeks away. So slightly behind the meta today is going to be even worse in like 3 weeks. 3 or 4 weeks. So unless he gets global buffs, I can't really recommend him. Now again, if you want to tie the whole Dragon Quest team together and you're going for the whole synergy thing, he's your leader. So there it is. But he's lightning. Lightning is not the greatest element right now. And if you are going to run a lightning team, it's very much going to be rebellion based with Wondrous Lightning and all that. And that will not be compatible with Dragon Quest Die. It's just incompatible. He does not go on a Rebellion team, and Lightning does not go on his team. Actually, I think, isn't he actually a 500 Lightning? He is. He's actually a 500 to all Lightning allies. So if you want to drop your leader skill down, like you can stick Lightning, Cloud, etc. on his team, and they'll have a weaker leader skill. Maybe it's viable. I don't think so, honestly. I don't think so. But there it is. There's Die. The other one is True Dark King Viarn? No, it's got to be Viarn. True Dark King Viarn. And my favorite part of videos, is when everyone tells me in the comments how wrong I say a name. I love that. I'm only half serious right now. It actually does It actually is slightly amusing. At the same time, it does at the same time get a little tiring. But anyway, whatever his name is, True Dark King Viren. I've never seen his shift sprite. I've never seen that. That's kind of interesting. He turns into like a crow creature. Okay. Kind of cool. I actually love his base form sprite. I think his base form sprite is awesome. He looks really cool. He's definitely the kind of character in an anime I would like just based on his sprite. Like, he looks kind of like a wizard type, I guess. Again, I didn't see Dragon Quest. I have no idea. He is a mage, so I assume he's a wizard in the anime. But yeah, whatever. As far as the unit himself, what does he do? He's a fire mage. And fire's good. Fire's really good. So if you're still running Rain as your leader with Genesis and all that, maybe. Let's look at his damage. So Viren is, pretty high up there. Not bad. And if I remember correctly, didn't he have a field? I think he had a field, didn't he? We're going to look real quick. Did he have a field? I can just do a search. None in the shift form. I guess no field? Yeah, no field. Okay, I thought he had a field. I guess not. But okay. So just a fire damage dealer. And his damage is fine. Like, it's good. Let's see. So what would your fire meta team look like? So we're talking about Flaring Rain as the leader, Genesis, Ayabrea, and looking at the current sheet, Genesis, Ayabrea, Flaring Rain, and Kier. So Kier could replace what's her name? Vanille. So Kier and Dark Flame Reagan could be your breaker. And I guess you could fit Viarna in the party. So, okay. I guess if you're going all in for fire, maybe he's good. He seems fine. Again, I'm not going to pull him, but I guess he seems fine. Whatever. He's a damage dealer, deals damage in a good element. So there it is. But unfortunately, his tags does not fit any of the good tags. So if you're upgrading to a Roka leader with Clash of Wills Fire, or if you're going for Locke in the future with Gathering, he does fit under Locke's leader skill, but he'd only get 500 under Locke, not 750, and he's already not super high up there. He's kind of 4th place, and when Locke comes in, he's definitely going to bump Viren out of that party. So maybe Viren is not that great. The other one is Leona. So Leona, I saw a lot of people on the JP channel talking about her, oh my god, she's the greatest thing ever. I think that was partially just bias from the anime, because they were saying she's a big deal in the anime. Because I looked over her kit, and I wasn't impressed. She's a healer buffer, and I didn't see anything super special there. She's got some AoE 160 killers. 160 is pretty low. She's got a field, and again, actually it's not a field. That is a amplifies 60 single target amp to a that's so bad. Who cares? Here it is, the field. So a 30% amp field. That's low. I get it's a lot of elements. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 5 elements. I understand that covers a lot, but I'd much rather go to a better field that specializes in one element. I'd rather a 50% to dark field or a 50% to light field, not 30 to 5, because I don't know. Just for the sake of being fair, people were in the JP channel saying, "Oh, she's awesome." I disagree. I think she's underwhelming. Make your own decision. She's a buffer. It seems like the only thing she really has is some low killers and some low amplifies for the party. Yeah, make your own call there. I was not impressed. Okay, so that covers all the Dragon Quest stuff. So next up, we would be getting, based on JP, Locke and Galoof. We covered the Neovisions Awakening already. So Locke and Galoof. So Locke is going to be here, and then Galoof is right here. Let's go over Galoof first, because he's a little bit easier. So he is just a breaker that covers, I know it's fire and earth. Is it 3 elements? Let's look real quick. Hold on. So, wind as well. Who cares about wind? So he's a breaker like Vanille that covers fire, earth, and wind. So 40% in peril field, He's got the 89 breaks, the 150 in peril, so 190 total in peril to fire, earth, and wind. But the catch is, in his shift form, when he goes samurai mode, he actually deals relevant damage. It's pretty good damage. Not like super meta tier, but for a breaker, it's among the top, if not the top, for breakers, for dedicated breakers. Yeah, so he's a really good breaker. And as far as what damage does he deal, let's pop over here. So Galoof, where is it? I know it's not super high. It's higher than that, though. I'm probably looking right at it and I can't find it. We can always use search. There it is, Galoof. Okay, so Galoof is approximately 700 billion with his burst. So that's somewhere around like here, around Jaden, Leftia, Ibarra, etc., which is pretty good, honestly, for a break. You have to keep in mind, it's for a breaker that's really high. He's also a field unit, so pretty good unit. Fire, earth, and wind. Fire is going to be his main thing. Earth will be more of once we get into Ramza, which is a little bit further away. But yeah, Earth is not going to be a big deal in the near future, but in the long-term future, Earth does become better. And yeah, that's Galoof, just a breaker, damage dealer, more narrow on the elements. And as far as wind, I mean, wind is not terrible, but like, for one thing, all the wind leaders will not cover him, so it's not really going to work out with wind for him. But then Locke. Locke is a new leader category. So his category is the Gathering. Now, the Gathering, I've talked about this before, the Gathering is 750 leader skill, and then 500 to all fire. So no matter what, if you're fire, you're getting at least a 500. This is the beginning of the dual-typed leader skills. So 750 to Gathering. What is Gathering? Gathering is basically companions. For example, Steiner or Terra. Because remember in Final Fantasy VI, there's technically no main character. So all the Final Fantasy VIers are Gathering because they all joined the party. Paladin Porum, Edge, Ridia, Setzer, basically Ferris, all the non-main characters. Now, the ones that are very clearly the main character, like Bart or Cecil or Zidane, those are not considered Gatherings. The actual, literal, unquestionably main characters are not the Gathering category. And it's kind of funny. So Vaughn is, according to Brave Exvius, not a main character. I would argue that, but I know that's kind of like a debatable topic of who's the real main character in Final Fantasy XII. I would say Vaughn, because he's literally your protagonist the entire game through. Whereas in Final Fantasy VI, Terra is for the first 30% of the game, but then she goes away, and then Locke takes over as the main character, and then in the second world, Celeste is the main character in the second part of the world. So, it changes, but Vaughn is literally the main character from the beginning of the game. Well, you can't count Rex, but after Rex, it's Vaughn for the whole game through. But anyway, we're getting kind of off topic here. The Gathering is companions, but not main characters. And that's his leader skill, 750. Now, as far as his damage goes, it's actually really good. So Locke's damage is very, very high, mostly because he's a proper true dual wield unit, and they're always going to deal the most damage, all things being equal. It's just higher damage over true double hand, if you have the 8 times cap, and he does. So yeah, his damage is really good. He's got a really good leader skill. He will take over the fire, and Genesis will still get a leader skill on his party. Ayabrea, depending if Global gives him Clash of Wills fire category, Ayabrea will definitely be a strong contender. Rain can come on there as a 750 actually if he gets Clash of Wills fire. So yeah, and as far as what he does, he's just damage. He's just a damage dealer and a leader, but he's not bringing things like fields or killers and all that kind of stuff. But he's a good unit, and he's premium. Keep that in mind. He is a premium unit, meaning he's going to be very expensive, or more expensive than the usuals, etc. And that's kind of debatable because of the banner format, but the shards will be less available for Locke, so there's a better way to say it. Next up is, and as far as me, will I pull for Locke? Honestly speaking, That depends entirely on what global does to him. He doesn't need any global buffs for as far as his damage goes, but he does need a global leader skill adjustment. So if he covers Clash of Wills Fire, I'll probably go for Lock, and I'll continue to ride the fire train. If he does not get Clash of Wills Fire, then I don't know. I am undecided. But if he doesn't get it, I'm leaning towards skipping Lock, and I'll just stick with my older leaders like Roka or Rain, because, Gathering is, as cool as it is of a category, it's not good enough for me. Next is Ridia and Setzer. So we're going to look at both of these. Fastest Man Setzer, Eidolon, Whisperer, Ridia. Let's look at Ridia first. So right away, I can tell you she's an Evoker in JP. What does that mean? What does Evoker in JP mean? It means immediately she's garbage. That's all there is to it. Now, evocation units that don't use evocation, like the new Roka, the new Tyvis, the new Nelica, all of these are quote-unquote evocation units, but they don't use their evocation. Therefore, they're good units. Like Tyvis uses the Meteor, Roka uses her magic scaling LB, Nelica uses her physical scaling LB. The problem is, Ridia is actual evocation. And actual evocation is still stuck in the 2019 meta of 90x modifiers. I do not understand the head stuck in the sand viewpoint of JP, where they will not give an Evoker higher than a 90x LB. This is the same thing Terra was using in 2019. How are we still on a 90x LB for Evokers? I do not get JP's obsession with 90x, and the problem is, if we look way the hell down here, Ridia is at 640. That's so far down. Now, it's 200 here because of her cooldown and then her Una STMR. But 200 is the same thing as Terra. She gets all that as well. But yeah, her damage is terrible. She does have some fields, though. So her fields are right here. So we don't care about the resistances. LB damage, 100. I thought she had an amp field as well. Am I mistaken here? I swear I thought she had an amp field. Is it really just an LB field and some resistance fields? Oh my gosh, she's worse than I thought. Water, earth, and my lord, it really is. She only has an LB damage field. What a bad unit. What a bad unit. Okay, so there you go. So Ridia is an earth evoker that does terrible damage, and she has an underwhelming field. Sorry, Ridia. You are not allowed to ever be good in this game. Yeah. Then we have Setzer. So Setzer is a wind damage dealer, and he does have a good field as well. His field is Amplify, so increases fire, wind, and earth damage. Now, if you remember, that is the same thing as Galoof's 3 elements. I thought he had better than 25. Didn't he have a secondary field? Resistance, we don't care about those. No, I guess not. Okay, so yeah, so he has a 25% field for fire, wind, and earth. So he basically goes with Galoof, goes with Lock. They do the whole gathering party. You can mix and match elements there. His damage is actually sort of respectable. It's right here. So 870, not the super highest, but it's fine. It's up there, kind of. He brings a field. The field is only 25%, but he is a wind damage dealer. But honestly, he would, like I said, he would go on the Lock party, and you would mix and match elements. So Lock is fire, Galoof is fire, and Setzer does get Lock's leader skill for gathering, and right here, the gathering. So he does get the leader skill, and so the problem is he's not going to get the 20% Dark Vision's party bonus. So even though his damage is right here, in reality, it's 20% lower because the party is going to be on the fire slot. You're not going to be mixing fire into his damage because no one's doing a big amplify. It would nerf his 150 by a whole lot. So yeah, so basically it's going to be more like 700. So the damage is not great. I'm personally going to not go for Setzer. Not for me. Not for me. Next would be, we get to the Final Fantasy Tactics event. So Ramza, Agrias, and Orlando. So let's look at those. Ramza, Agrias, and Orlando. So Ramza is, once again, they kind of recycled it here. So he's a rebellion category. So go look at his leader skill. So his leader skill is 750 for all the rebellion, including the old rebellions, and then 500 for Earth. Now, Earth, off the top of my head, I can't think of anyone that is like an Earth damage dealer that actually matters. So at the current time, that's kind of whatever. Himself is an Earth damage dealer, and his damage is okay. It's not like great or anything. Where's Ramza? Right here. I mean, 947. It's fine and all. It's just like a lot lower than Locke's. It is Earth, and while he does make Earth better, it's still not great. For example, you've got Ramza as Earth, you've got Yuffie as Earth. Yuffie is Rebellion, so she gets a 750, so that's nice and all. And it is Rebellion, so you could splash in Lightning on there as well. If you've got Vanille Breaking, that covers Lightning and Earth. And then just real quick while we talk about it, we're going to go to Agrias. Agrias is like Galoof. She's a breaker that is also a damage dealer with field. So her elements are, let's find them, right here, Lightning and Earth. So only 2 elements, Lightning and Earth, and only 30%. It was actually worse than Vanille, but she does have high personal damage. So she kind of ties together the Ramza party, because Ramza is really Earth himself, but he's also Lightning. So that would be Ramza, Yuffie, Wondrous Flash Lightning, Agrias, and then maybe Cloud as well for another Lightning damage dealer. Yeah, so that's kind of the whole Ramza party. Oh, duh, and Orlando is Lightning. Orlando is Lightning. We'll get to him in just a second. But, yeah, it's, a tactics party. We've got the shift form where it goes in the night form. So you can do magic in the base form or physical in the shift form. They're both whatever. And there you go. And his damage is okay. And we mentioned Agrias. Agrias' damage is also decent. Not super great, but decent. Where is it? Right here. So 652, pretty similar to Galoof. A little bit lower than Galoof. Her field is worse than Galoof. So overall, I would say Agrias is just a weaker Galoof. Different elements, though. I don't think Galoof covers Lightning. But, yeah. I would say if you really want to go for that kind of scenario, go with Galoof. Galoof is better than her. She is Rebellion. She's also Royal Flag. So is Galoof, though. And then Soldiers as well. I don't feel like reading more about how to say this in the comments. But yeah, there you go. And then Orlando, also a premium. So Ramza's premium, so is Orlando. Orlando has no leader skill at all. This is the beginning of where JP decided some units are going to be like heavy hitters with no support, no leader skills, nothing. They just deal good damage. And that's Orlando. He has no fields, no support, no leader skill whatsoever. Well, 100%. Yay. He's just a damage dealer. Just a damage dealer. Now, the thing is, right here, his damage is not super impressive. Like, it's good, but it's not, like, amazing. It's 990. Like, you would think for someone like Orlando, who is, by the history of the game and his own game, known as being overpowered, he's really not, honestly. He's just, like, an on-par... This is like 2 months. This is like 2 months away. So he's already very slightly below the current meta of us. And that's 2 months in the future. So creep is going to continue getting higher. And Orlando is already very slightly behind the curve. So, yeah. And once again, you run into the whole Dark Visions party where you're splitting your elements. Like half your party is Earth, half your party is Lightning. You can only go on one party slot. So if you're on the Earth party slot, Ramza and Yuffie are dealing full damage, but Agrias or actually she's Earth as well, but Orlando and Wondrous Lightning are dealing 20% less damage because they're not getting the party bonus. That's really a major problem for Dark Vision's mixed parties. Now, JP did help mitigate this slightly by lowering the bonus to only 10%. Global, as of currently, has skipped that update, and Global, the last Dark Visions that should have been a 10% bonus, not 20, it was still 20 on Global. So either we skipped it forever or it's delayed, but at the current time on Global, that 20% penalty for not going main element is still there. So there's our Final Fantasy tactics. Now, do I plan to pull for any of these three? Probably not, honestly. No. As much as I love tactics, and I would rate that as one of the best games ever, the units are just not for me. Unless they get some major global buffs. Then sure, maybe. But, yeah. So next up is a collaboration, Secret of Mana. We've so far gotten all the Mana collaborations, so we'll probably get this one, but keep in mind collaborations do have a chance to be skipped. So that would be Randy, Prim, and Papoy. So Randy is a water leader. So he is 750 to mana and 500 to water. Now keep in mind, we just had Roos that was upgraded on Global to be a 600 water. So yeah, so if you're going for the water parties, Randy is just a water damage dealer. Not much more to say about it. His damage is not great. It's, 900, and that's if he's leading himself. Once again, we get into these realistic scenarios. Realistically, if you are building a water party, Roos is going to lead it at 600%, not Randy. So his leader skill he's really only at 600, so he's actually even lower in damage. So, not super great. Lovely, Strong and Lovely Heart Prim. Please change that name on Global. What a horrible name. Strong and Lovely Heart Prim is a wind damage dealer. She does have some fields. Where's her fields at? So fields, she does have them. I can't find them. Here it is. So, amplify field. So, amplify to ice, water, lightning, wind, or light. So, 5 elements, but they're split into different fields. They're not 5 at the same time. So, you can only pick just light, just lightning or wind, or just ice and water. So, these are really all over the place, and because of that, it's just not going to work out. So, and her damage is not great either. So, Prim's damage is like way down here. Really bad. And when you consider she's not getting Randy's leader skill, because that's not going to be a real team, it's even worse. Even worse. So, unfortunate. And then Papoy, kind of the same problem. She's a fire damage dealer. She does have some fields. Earth and Peril by 40. Ice and Water by 40. I think she had one more as well. Where is it? Here it is. Fire by 40. So, again, her fields are multiple different fields, so she will not enable a multi-element party, and her damage is also underwhelming. It's not okay. Actually, it's not that bad. It's around 900. That's with Randy. In reality, slightly less because she's not going to be getting that leader skill. So more like 800. So I mean, I don't know. Overall, this collaboration is just for fan service. The units are not super great. If you're a hardcore Secret of Mana fan, by all means, go for it. I love Secret of Mana, but I'm not going to pull for these units. They're just nowhere near good enough. They need some major global upgrades, which is unlikely. Then we get into the Final Fantasy 15 banners with Noctis and Prompto. So Noctis is another new category leader, and he's a premium as well. So he's a light damage dealer with the Royal Flag category. So Royal Flag, we've gone over it before, 750 for that. So Royal Flag is basically, I've covered this already. So royal units like Ovelia, Cecil, Chizuru, Princess Sarah, Noctis because he's the king of the castle or whatever. Lastwell because he's the Hess leader. Conshira because actually Conshira is not royal because it was pointed out to me that she is not the queen of her country. Someone else is. And actually, yeah, that's right. So it's like royals and then the royals second in command. So, like, Edgar is the king of the castle. Let's get some second in command examples. I don't know. I'm not seeing any. Dagger is the princess. Cyan is the last survivor of Doma. So he's the key, by default, the king. Ferris is the princess of Tycoon. I mean, these are all, like, literal princes. Oh, here we go. Ignis. Ignis was not the king. He was the king's, like, second in command or whatever. So there you go. You get the idea. Aiko. Why is Aiko? Aiko wasn't a princess. She was an orphan of Medine Suri, the destroyed city. I guess because Aiko was the only survivor of Medine Suri, the city, by default, she's the queen of one. I guess? I don't know. Whatever. We're getting off track. So Noctis is the royalty leader. Light element. And his damage is pretty good. So his damage is actually really good. So right here, okay, so on JP, we recently got 1,000% leader skills, and Noctis does qualify for that, so he's bumped up higher. Again, this is my JP page. It's really focused primarily on JP stuff. But on global, he will not have 1,000 leader skill, at least not for a while. So he's more like around here-ish. So, I mean, he's still really good damage, just not as high as you're seeing here. But, yeah, he's a damage dealer. He's light element. So for me, am I going to pull for Noctis? That really depends on if he gets Clash of Wills upgrades. So if they make him Clash of Wills light as well, then probably, maybe. We'll see. But if not, that's a big skip. Big skip if not. Because we know, like, right after Noctis is the Neovisions plus power creep. So, yeah. And then Prompto is another damage-dealing breaker. So he is, I think, just light, actually. So his... Oh, never mind. Fire, ice, and light by 30%. So his field is a little bit weaker. And I will say, from using him, he's actually pretty awkward to use. Because for any kind of, like, quick OTK content... His field and his breaks are on different forms. You cannot field and break at the same time. And that's pretty annoying after using him a lot in JP. After being used to like Vanille or Galoof and all that can do both at the same time. Prompto not being able to do both on turn one has been really irritating, to be completely honest here. So yeah, that's actually a really big penalty in my eyes for him. Prompto's damage is not the greatest, but it's fine. Where is it? Prompto. Right here. So 644, so slightly behind Galoof and all them. So yeah, Galoof really is like a really good breaker. Prompto's not that far behind, but again, he has the awkwardness of different forms, and they didn't put him on the same form. It's really annoying the way they did that. But Saul has the same problem. So anyway, there's that. Next, we get the second part of that event is Ignis and Gladiolus. So Ignis, and let's see, Gladiolus. So let's go to Ignis first. Ignis is a field unit with ice and a jumper. Honestly, not super great. So where's his field? Where's his field? He's got a field. I'm not seeing it. Maybe it's in a shift form. Where's the field? Here it is. So 35% amplify for fire, ice, lightning, and light. So I mean that's pretty good, and his damage is okay. He suffers from being a dragoon. 524. Yeah, dragoons are just big thumbs down these days because his amplify is not super great. He can get the new JP style amplify where you get 100 and then jump, but still, it's only a max of 100 amp instead of 150. That's bad. His damage is not great, and all he's really doing is bringing a field. And then Gladiolus is just awkward. He's like a damage dealer that doesn't really do anything. He's got cover and all, but like bad damage. So Gladiolus is... Where's he at? Where's he at? Did I even calc him? Maybe his damage was so bad I didn't even calc him. No, here it is. Actually, okay, wow. It's actually a lot better than I expected. 860. So, I mean, not terrible. The problem is he's ice element. So, are we really building an ice team? And the answer is going to be no. We are not using ice units because if you're using Noctis, like the light element units are so wide and varied, you don't need to squeeze in bad ice units. And the ice units that you do use are going to be getting a 20% damage penalty because they're not going to match the light party slot. So, that whole off-element penalty in Dark Visions really should get taken away entirely. Like, don't lower it to 10, just get rid of it completely. What a dumb mechanic. But yeah, so because they're mismatching the proper element, you're probably not going to use them, in my opinion. But definitely you do you. So, for me, Ignis and Gladiolus are big skips. Prompto, probably a skip for me, because after using him in JP, the frustration of his field and his breaks being on different forms is just too much. It's too much. There's so much content that you want to do quick burst damage and all, and not being able to do that with Prompto is a big reason I don't use him as much as I should, even though I have him. And as far as Noctis, it really depends if he gets his Clash of Wills upgrades or not. If he does, probably. If not, whatever. Next would be Fisus and Metsy. So, Fisus and Metsy. So, Fisus is an ice damage dealer, and her damage is like okay-ish, kind of, right here. So, Knight Fisus, 856. Again, it's ice. Ice is not good enough. So even though there's a bunch of ice units that come out at the same time, none of them are enough to really raise the bar high enough to actually use. So, Fisus has really one purpose and one purpose only. She is a Season 4 damage dealer, and she makes the Season 4 mission for Queen Bianca a lot easier, because she's better damage than Snavlenka. That's all there is to it. I think she even has a leader skill. Yeah, and she has a 750 leader to Season 4 units. So, again, if you're really desperately wanting the Season 4 mission for Queen Bianca, and you haven't done it yet, and you don't want to struggle with Snavlenka, Fisus makes it easier. Would I ever recommend pulling her just for that mission? Hell no. But if it's that important to you, make your own decision. And then Metsy is yet another breaker with fields. So he is a breaker with Ice, Lightning, and Water Field down by 40%. And that's kind of it. His damage by memory is not super great. Oh yeah, it's real bad. 500. I mean, it's the same thing as Ignis, so I guess it's something. But when you compare it to, like, Galoof, the gold standard of damage dealing breakers, it's pretty far behind. But different elements. So Ice, Lightning, Water, Resistance. And again, he's a Season 4 unit, so you're probably going to want him over Tulian to break for you if you're doing that whole Season 4 idea for the Queen fight. Again, please don't spend 100,000 Lapis chasing 2 different Season 4 units just for a single mission on a fight. Don't do it. Just really don't do it. But if you want him for other reasons, he is a competent breaker. He's a good breaker, so there you go. Next, we'd be getting the Full Metal Alchemist collaboration. So we're getting Elric and Scar as the first one. So this, keep in mind, this happens directly before massive power creep. So this is a collaboration that, even though the units are good, for example, Elric is pretty high up there, like really good damage, and then Scar is not quite as good, but still pretty high. And that's all they really do. Elric deals damage, not much more to say. I think he has some fields as well, so Imperil fields, which are nice. Imperil fields, good damage. Scar is an earth damage dealer. I don't think he had fields. He could have. Actually, he might have a field. Did he have a? He does. LB damage field. So there you go. But still, Scar and Elric, like, they're good units. If you're a Full Metal Alchemist fan, by all means, go for it. It's just they are coming directly before massive power creep. So I can't in good faith recommend you pull for them, because we know huge power creep is coming the week after. So just, as much of a fan as Full Metal Alchemist I am as well. You know, I love the whole, and I watched the whole anime from beginning to end. I know there's two of them. I watched the one that had Roy Mustang in it. I didn't watch the other Full Metal Alchemist. I think it was called Brotherhood, the one I saw. Yeah, with Roy Mustang and all the Deadly Sin homunculus people. That's the one I saw. I didn't see the other one, so I have no idea the other one. But anyway, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. So I do like Full Metal Alchemist, but I can't justify it. And then we get the next one, Kimberly and Olivier. Olivier and Kimberly. And again, they're basically just damage dealers. So, actually, I think Kimberly was a breaker, right? Yeah, Kimberly was a breaker. I didn't even calc him, I don't think, because his damage was so bad. Oh, I did calc him. So, Kimberly, 592, really bad damage. And then Olivier was pretty high. Where is she at? No, she wasn't. 843. And again, she's ice. So, I mean, we're getting so many ice units. It's just like, they're just not there. Because it's just weaker than other options. Like, fire and light are just way better. Or even earth is just way better. And yeah, they're just damage dealers. And Kimberly's a breaker. Does he have 89 breaks? He does. He has 89 breaks. So there you go. And then, Imperils. Imperil Field. So, Kimberly's just another breaker. And they're fine. They're good. They're strong. It's just right before power creep. So JP also got Esther, and then they got Sylvie as a pay-to-win unit. We're not going to cover them because obviously we're not getting Esther and Sylvie from the JP version. Then we get Neo Visions Plus and more premiums, the whole anniversary event. So let's skip over the JP, Sylvie and them, skip over that. So Rain, Laswell, and Fina. So this is where we get some power creep. So Rain is a decent damage dealer, not the greatest, honestly. So Bismarck, Rain. Oh, okay. So this is the leader skill power creep. So Rain gives a 1,000% leader skill to JP anniversary units, which on JP, they're pretty good. On global, not as big a deal, but there you go. So 1,000% leader skill, and his own damage is fine. He's a water damage dealer, and lots of the anniversary stuff covers water. So water, for a long time, water was kind of a meme, but because we get a bunch of water support in the anniversary, you can then, if you pull for all the new units, you can build a really powerful water team. And I would say water, at the current time in JP, is the strongest party in the game. So Rain is going to be your leader for this party. He is 750 or 1,000 to anniversary and 750 to all water allies. So even if you're not JP anniversary, like Randy or Roos, etc., you would still get a 750 leader skill, which is still really good. So he's the leader. Fina is a light damage dealer. So Fina is the other alternative. Whereas here with Bismarck Fina. So she's really high, and her leader skill is 1,000 to Blessing of the Crystals or 750 to light. So she, in my opinion, is the far better leader. Way better leader. Blessing of the Crystals has quite a few good units in it. Lots of good units. Not to mention, most of the newer units, like Rain, is Blessing of the Crystals. Noctis is Blessing of the Crystals. We've got things like Richt on Global, Blessing of the Crystals. Like, that's a really good category, and it keeps expanding. They keep adding more and more and more units to that category. So she's a great leader, and 750 to all light. The issue is she doesn't have a big Neo Visions Plus unit to carry her. Because Water has Neo Visions Plus Laswell. And he, if you look up here, the benchmark is like 1.1, 1.2. He's 1.8. He jumps up dramatically. Now the catch with Neo Visions Plus units is kind of like I mentioned with Orlando. Neo Visions Plus units are bare bones in terms of kit. They are just a big hitter and nothing else. Lastwell doesn't have his own good amplify. He doesn't have a good weapon in peril. He doesn't have a leader skill. Like, he's got nothing. You've got to add a external amplify, external weapon in peril, external buffings, external leader skill. But if you do all that, he's going to just hit the hardest in the entire game. Literally. He does ridiculously high damage. But he has nothing of his own. He's just an empty shell of hard-hitting potential. And that's Lastwell. So he's pretty strong. Next up would be NV Plus Darkfina and Chaos Bismarck. So let's go ahead and pop over and look at those real quick. So Bismarck and Darkfina. So Darkfina is, again, another Neovisions Plus unit. So right here, super high damage. The catch is she is the dark category. And the dark category has sort of fallen behind a little bit. It doesn't have a really great amplify field. The best one is like Crowned Darkfina at 40%, which is still good. But yeah, that's good, I guess. But there you go. Now the thing is, and again, she's Neovisions Plus. Again, does basically nothing on her own. You've got to bring all the stuff externally. But thankfully, Chaos Bismarck is a breaker, and he does a 200% Dark Imperil, and he's got a Dark Imperil field of 30. So he has a 230% Dark Imperil, which very obviously is the biggest in the entire game. So, and 89 breaks. So, yeah, he is the Imperil if you want to go Darkness with Fina. Then the most recent ones is Bismarck, Roos, and Nelica. They just came out in JP, so Roos and Nelica. So their gimmick is their fields. They are power creeping fields. So Roos has a, where is it? A 70% water amplify field, and Nelica has a 70% light amplify field. That's their gimmick. So on this Lastwell all-in party, you definitely want Roos to give him a 70% amplify field. Then you get a 100% external amplify, and suddenly Lastwell is at 170 amplify, which is huge. So Roos, his damage calculation is pretty high, and the Nelica's is actually surprisingly a lot lower, but not that much lower. 891 is not terrible. Keep in mind this is like 4 or 5 months down the road, so it's not great. But yeah, Nelica is light, so Nelica goes on the Fina party, the Bismarck Fina party, if you're going that route. Fina, True King Noctis, etc. You could also get him. Remember I mentioned the light Dragon Quest unit, also really good. Or you go the Water party with Lastwell. I feel like Dark Fina, the Dark party, is not good enough yet. Could change in the future. But there you go. And that's where we currently are on JP. Roos and Nelica just came out. New units will be coming on the 1st of November, but we aren't there yet. So, real quick recap. Who am I personally interested in from the JP schedule? So, I think the Dragon Quest units are going to be a skip for me. Locke, it really depends if he gets Clash of Wills fire support. If he does, Locke is probably a pull for me, and then probably Galoof as well to go with it. I'll probably chase both. If Locke does not get Clash of Wills support, then no, he's a skip. Tactics is all a skip for me. I'm not going the Ramza, Orlando, Agrius route. Secret of Mana, big skip. They're not good enough. Nowhere near good enough. They need huge buffs. The whole Final Fantasy 15 light party, Noctis, Prompto, etc. Again, it very much depends on if he gets support for Clash of Wills. If he gets Clash of Wills light category, then probably. And Prompto, oh my god, you killed me, Prompto. Maybe Global will adjust it to where his field is also in his base form, or his breaks are also in the shift form. If Global does that, then absolutely. They probably won't, so Prompto is probably a skip for me. Full Metal Alchemist, no, it's way too close to power creep. And as far as Neovisions Plus, I will decide when we get there. But I would probably lean towards going the water route with last, or maybe honestly the light route with Fina, just because Fina, I already got a bunch of the light units, whereas with water, I'd have to pull like the entire new party. I'd have to pull everybody. Whereas with Fina, I've already got Tyvis, I've already got Rick, I might have Noctis, so then I just need Fina. See what I'm saying? We'll see. Anyway, this video went way longer than I expected. So there's my look into the upcoming Neovisions base units for the next 4 or 5 months. Hope it helps. See you in a bit.